Most people read a warning letter and panic. They scramble to pay the fines, repaint the shed, or apologize to people who don't deserve it. I'm not most people. I've seen how power really works, the kind that hums through cables, not meeting rooms. I've watched men in suits sign documents they didn't understand, pretending they ran things. And I've learned something important over the years. The ones who think they're in control usually aren't. So when the HOA sent me that letter, I didn't get angry. I got curious. Because I already knew, long before they did, that their authority ended at my property line. And soon they were going to learn that the man they were trying to bully was the one who kept their lights on. But let me start at the beginning. Before we dive in, let me know where you're listening from today. It looked like an ordinary envelope. White, neat, and smug. Nothing about it suggested the chaos it would bring. I picked it up from my mailbox, the morning sun glinting off the corner of its fold, and for a moment everything felt normal. Birds chirped. The neighbors' sprinklers hissed down the street. Coffee steamed in my hand, warm and familiar. But inside that envelope was a threat dressed as paperwork. It claimed I had violated Covenant Rule 14.2, something about visible auxiliary structures and community integrity. The words were stiff, passive-aggressive, and suffused with authority. At first I laughed. Honestly, I chuckled out loud. I had spent months restoring the detached workshop on my property. Fresh siding, recessed lighting, tidy and precise. Not an eyesore. Not a scrap heap. Everything neat, every bolt in place, every corner cleaned. But apparently that wasn't enough for Claire, the HOA president. She was a woman who treated power like a perfume, thick, overwhelming, impossible to ignore. Later, people in the neighborhood would whisper her real name like a warning, Karen, and now they had decided to make me the target. I didn't storm the streets. I didn't yell. I poured another cup of coffee and reread the letter. It mentioned my trailer parked beside the garage, a compost barrel behind the fence, even a non-approved paint color on the shed door. All absurd, all petty, all vague enough to intimidate. I knew the game. Bureaucracies like this thrived on fear, on compliance. I'd seen it countless times in my career managing municipal projects. Panic was their weapon. Calm was mine. The next day, I walked into the HOA office, small, stucco, 2 flags flapping lazily out front. Inside, a receptionist barely glanced at me, her expression permanently bored. "You'll need to file a formal request," she said flatly when I asked for a copy of the covenants. I filled out the form in silence, handing it back with a quiet nod. That's when I saw her, Claire. Half hidden behind a conference room door, arms crossed, lips tight. The classic, "How dare you question me?" Look, I nodded slightly. She didn't return it. 3 days later, a second envelope arrived, hand-delivered this time. Fines, retroactive charges, escalation notices. They were upping the pressure. But I stayed calm. My experience told me exactly what was coming. People like Claire overestimate their authority. They assume compliance. They never anticipate resistance from someone who knows exactly how the system works. That Thursday afternoon, I came home and froze. My house was dead. No porch lights, no ceiling fan hum, no fridge, no background hum of standby circuits. The street was alive, the sprinklers spraying, televisions flickering behind curtains. But my home sat in darkness. I checked the breaker. A crude HOA tag flapped on the panel. Disconnected, enforcement action, Rule 14.2. They had cut me off, illegally, boldly. Without notice from the utility, without a hearing, without permission, and in that moment, clarity replaced anger. They had unplugged the wrong man. I had spent decades keeping lights on for municipalities, managing contracts, auditing power systems. I knew how it worked. I knew authority. I knew how to respond. I didn't panic. I didn't call the police. I didn't yell. I documented. Photographs, video stills, timestamps, everything. I drove to an old colleague, Dennis, now a senior technician in the city utility department. He blinked when he saw the footage. "They cut your residential feed?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "No permit, no utility involvement, just walked onto my property and pulled the plug." Dennis's smile faded. "That's criminal tampering. Not even licensed, exactly." And that was the point. I filed a formal maintenance notice on the substation I quietly owned through my LLC. It fed power to the community, Legally, it allowed me to inspect and shut down parts of the grid. A small, precise shutdown. No one hurt, no damage, just a reminder. AM the next morning, the neighborhood woke to darkness. Sprinklers stopped mid-spray. Garage doors refused to budge. Claire's voice pierced the quiet. I don't care if it's maintenance. Why is my wine fridge out? The pool lights won't work, fix it. Her husband, Martin, stormed across the lawn toward me, phone in hand. Is this your doing? I nodded slowly. Maintenance scheduled, legal, documented. Funny thing, you just did the same thing to me yesterday. Their faces drained of color. Shock, realization, fear. I didn't gloat. I just let the silence speak. The quiet control hit harder than any yelling ever could. By mid-morning, inspection complete, lights returned. My house lit first naturally. The neighborhood followed. Power humming, sprinklers spraying, TVs flickering, civility restored. I sat on my porch, scout at my feet, coffee in hand. I watched Claire and Martin scurry, disoriented. And they thought power came from rules, from fines, from fear. But real power doesn't shout. It hums quietly, steady, until someone realizes who's really in charge. Quiet justice is the most satisfying kind. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need recognition. And sometimes it comes with the ironic twist of the very people who tried to take it away learning exactly whose hand keeps the lights on. That day, I didn't just get my power back. I reminded everyone who had underestimated me. The lights were always mine to control.